They say you die twice, once when your heart stops, and once when someone speaks your name for the last time. I died the first time on a mountainside in Afghanistan. The second death, I'm still fighting. The radio crackled in my shattered earpiece. Falcon 3 is down. Confirmed KIA. Lieutenant Commander Maya Chen, 28 years old. No recovery possible. Mark coordinates and RTB. Return to base. They were leaving my body for the vultures. I pressed my hand against the rocks beneath me, feeling the warmth of my own blood pooling in the crevice where I'd landed after the 30-foot fall. The 7.62mm round had punched through the gap in my plate carrier, lodging somewhere near my spine. My HK-416 was gone, lost in the tumble down the cliff face. My team, Rodriguez and Jackson, were dead. I'd watched Rodriguez take a headshot in the first seconds of the ambush. Jackson had been vaporized by the RPG that sent me over the edge. But something was wrong. Fundamentally, impossibly wrong. I'd been doing this long enough to know the sound of Taliban weapons. AK-47s have a distinctive crack, RPGs a particular whoosh. What I'd heard during the ambush was different. The rifles had been suppressed high-end suppressors, military grade. The RPG launch had been too clean, too precise. And there was something else. As I lay there cataloging my injuries and waiting for unconsciousness or death, whichever came first, my hand brushed against something embedded in the rock face beside me. Cold metal. I pulled it free, squinting at it in the fading light. A challenge coin. Not just any coin. A Ghost Operations challenge coin, the kind they give you when you complete the program. Matte black titanium with a death's head insignia and a number 001. My blood turned to ice water. Ghost operatives are numbered in order of graduation. I was 043. The program started 7 years ago. 001 would have been the very first graduate, the prototype. The legend we'd all heard whispered stories about during training. The operator who died 5 years ago on a black op in Yemen. The one they told us about as a cautionary tale, the ghost who became too good at being dead, who disappeared so completely that even command lost track of him. His name had been redacted from all our briefings, but Instructor Ramirez had gotten drunk one night and told me the truth. "Best damn operator I ever trained," he'd said. "Call sign Orion. Smart enough to see what the program really was. Smart enough to do something about it." I'd asked what he meant, but Ramirez had sobered up fast and refused to say more. Now, holding that coin with its damning number, I understood. The ambush wasn't Taliban. It was a message, and my team and I had been the target. Day 1, 1930 hours. Survival first, philosophy later. I'd trained for this. Ghost Operations protocol dictates that if you're presumed KIA, you use that cover to complete the mission. But what mission? We'd been on routine reconnaissance, watching a suspected Taliban compound. Nothing that warranted assassination by a rogue ghost operative. Unless reconnaissance wasn't the real mission. I pulled out my IFAK and packed the bullet wound with quick-clot gauze, biting down on my glove to keep from screaming. The pain was extraordinary, a white-hot lance that made thinking nearly impossible. But I'd been through worse in training. Hell Week at Bud S. Sears School, the ghost program itself. They break you down until pain is just another form of information. I took 2 ampicillin capsules and assessed my gear Sig Sauer P226 with 3 mags, KA bar, knife, 1 frag grenade, compass map, and a liter of water. My radio was destroyed, GPS beacon shattered. And that challenge coin. I studied it more carefully. On the reverse side, barely visible, was an engraving 32.717 deGroven N 74.85 coordinates. I pulled out my map hands, shaking from blood loss and shock. The coordinates pointed to a location 12 kilometers southwest, a small village called Darya Kel. The same village mentioned in our pre-mission briefing as low priority minimal intelligence value. Orion wanted me to go there. Needed me to, or he wouldn't have left the coin. The question was why. I thought about Emma, my 9-year-old sister back in San Francisco. Before I deployed, she'd made me promise to come home. "You're my hero, Maya," she'd said, hugging me at the airport. "Heroes always come home." I'd lied to her then. I was lying to her now by still being alive. But if Orion had gone to the trouble of staging my death while keeping me alive, there was something bigger happening. Something that required a ghost. I started moving toward Darya Kel. Day 1, 23:15 hours. The village was quiet when I reached it, moving through the darkness like a shadow. Every step sent agony through my side, but I'd compartmentalized the pain into a box marked later. The ghost training was working exactly as designed. I was a weapon system, and weapon systems don't stop functioning because they're damaged. That's what Orion had learned to hate about the program. I understood that now. Darya Kel was a cluster of mud brick buildings, population maybe 100. Too small for Taliban interest, too remote for American patrols. Perfect for a clandestine meeting. I watched from a ridge for 30 minutes, using my thermal monocular. One building showed unusual heat signatures, 4 people moving with purpose. Not farmers. Not Taliban either. The movement patterns were too disciplined. I moved closer. Through a window, I saw them 4 men in Western clothing, speaking English. Americans. One was typing on a laptop, another studying a map. The third was cleaning a rifle, an HK-416 like mine. The fourth was giving orders. I couldn't hear the words, but I could read body language. These were operators. Probably contractors based on the casual way they wore their kit. Private military, the kind that do the jobs government won't acknowledge. Then the leader turned toward the light, and I saw his face. He was older than his file photo, harder, with a scar running from his left eye to his jaw. But I recognized him from the redacted training photos Ramirez had shown me. Orion. He looked directly at the window where I was watching and smiled. Then he raised his hand and made a gesture I recognized, Ghost Operations hand signal for approach non-hostile. He'd known I was there. Had probably been tracking me since I found the coin. I had a choice: walk into an obvious trap or walk away and never know the truth. I thought about Rodriguez, his head snapping back as the bullet found him. About Jackson vaporized in an instant. About my own death being called in while I was still breathing. I checked my SIG, made sure a round was chambered, and walked to the door. Day 2, Zodra 1 hours. The door opened before I could knock. Orion stood there, unarmed, hands visible. "Maya Chen," he said quietly. "Ghost 043. You made good time with a bullet in you. I'm impressed. You killed my team." My voice was steady, but my finger was on the trigger. "No, I saved you. There's a difference." He stepped back, gesturing to a chair. "Sit before you fall down. We need to talk, and I need you conscious." Every instinct screamed trap. But he was right. I was running on adrenaline and spite, and both were running low. I sat, keeping the SIG trained on him. "Talk fast. My finger gets twitchy when I'm bleeding out." He smiled without humor. "Fair enough. Let me start with a question. Do you know why you were really in Afghanistan, Maya? Reconnaissance on a Taliban compound. That's what they told you. The truth is more complicated." He pulled out a tablet and slid it across the table. Your mission was a sacrifice play. You and your team were bait. The tablet showed drone footage of our ambush, but from an American predator, not Taliban. I watched myself go over the cliff in high definition. Command knew the ambush was coming, Orion said. They set you up to die because your investigation was getting too close to something they couldn't afford to have exposed. What investigation? I was running standard reconnaissance. You were, but Rodriguez wasn't. Orion pulled up another file. Petty Officer Carlos Rodriguez. Sniper, yes. Also a trained intelligence analyst who'd been flagging irregularities in mission reports for 6 months. He'd identified a pattern: ghost operatives who complete successful missions and are then killed in unrelated incidents shortly after. 15 operators in 5 years, Maya. 15 ghosts who became permanent ghosts. The room tilted. You're saying Command is killing its own operators? I'm saying the Ghost program was never about giving us operational freedom. It's about deniability. We're the ultimate expendable asset operators who are already dead on paper, who can be sacrificed without accountability. When a mission goes sideways, when someone needs to be silenced, they send a ghost. Then they kill the ghost. Clean, untraceable, perfect. I wanted to call him crazy. But I thought about the whispers I'd heard, the way ghost operators rotated through missions and disappeared. The way Ramirez had looked when he talked about the program, not proud, but haunted. Rodriguez found the pattern. Orion continued. He was going to blow the whistle. So they decided to eliminate the whole team and make it look like Taliban. Except I got there first and changed the equation. I killed Rodriguez and Jackson fast. They didn't suffer. Then I staged your death and gave you a chance to survive. Rage flooded through me, hot and clarifying. You murdered my teammates. I gave them mercy, he said flatly. The alternative was torture and a slow death in a Taliban prison, while Command refused to authorize rescue. I've seen that play before. This was cleaner. And me. You, I needed alive. Because you're going to help me finish what I started 5 years ago when I died in Yemen. He pulled up a new file on the tablet. Ghost Operations isn't just morally bankrupt, it's compromised. 3 high-ranking officials are using the program for illegal operations, assassinations, false flag attacks, black market arms deals. They're planning something big, and they need to eliminate anyone who might interfere. The file showed locations and dates: New York, Paris, Berlin, Tokyo, San Francisco. My stomach dropped. Coordinated attacks. Not attacks. Assassinations masked as terrorist incidents. 12 targets: politicians, whistleblowers, journalists. People who threaten to expose the program or the officials behind it. They'll use actual terrorists as patsies, but ghost operators will be on site to ensure the kills are clean. Then the terrorists take the fall, the targets die, and nobody asks questions. He zoomed in on the San Francisco location. Powell Street BART Station. One of the targets is Senator Margaret Reeves. She chairs the Senate Intelligence Committee and has been investigating ghost operations for 2 years. She's scheduled to be at Powell Street on Wednesday at 1:15 p.m. for a campaign event. He paused. Roosevelt Middle School is doing a field trip that day. They'll be passing through the station at the same time. Emma's school. You bastard, I whispered. You're using my sister as leverage. I'm giving you a reason to care, he corrected. If we don't stop this, Emma and 300 other kids will be collateral damage in an assassination. The ghost operative assigned to the hit call sign Wraith has orders to use a pressure cooker bomb to maximize casualties and sell the terrorist narrative. I wanted to shoot him. I wanted to believe he was lying. But the tablet showed mission orders, encrypted communications target profiles, all with official Department of Defense headers and authentication codes I recognized. Why not go public? I demanded. Take this to the media, to Congress. Because half of Congress is compromised or complicit, and the media will bury it as conspiracy theory until it's too late. The only way to stop this is from inside Ghost versus Ghost. They made us into phantoms, Maya. Now we use that against them. What do you want from me? He leaned forward. Help me stop the attacks. Help me expose the program. Help me make the people responsible pay for turning us into disposable weapons. And if I refuse, then Senator Reeves dies, your sister maybe dies, 11 other people definitely die, and you spend the rest of your short life wondering if you could have made a difference. His eyes were cold, empty. I've been dead for 5 years, Maya. I've got nothing left to lose. But you still have a sister who believes in heroes. Prove her right. Day 2, 0345 hours. I didn't trust Orion. But I trusted the evidence on that tablet, and I trusted my gut screaming that he was telling the truth. If I help you, I said carefully, I need guarantees. No civilian casualties. No collateral damage. We stop the attacks and expose the program without creating chaos. Impossible, Orion said flatly. You can't expose corruption without chaos. Then find a way. Because if you're asking me to burn down the system, I need to know what you're building in its place. He studied me for a long moment. You still believe in the system. That's your weakness. No, it's my strength. I became a SEAL to protect people, not to destabilize governments. If we're going to do this, we do it right: surgical strikes, minimal collateral damage, and we hand the evidence to someone who can actually do something with it. Who everyone's compromised. Not everyone. I thought about Admiral Keller, my commanding officer. Hard as nails, but honorable to his core. There are still good people in the chain of command. We just have to find them. Orion laughed bitterly. You're naive. I'm a ghost operative who just survived being assassinated by her own government. Naive isn't in my vocabulary anymore. But neither is nihilism. You want my help? We do this my way, clean, precise, and we leave evidence that can't be buried. He considered this. You'll need medical attention. You're running on fumes and spite. I'll manage. What's the timeline? 72 hours until the attacks. Wraith, the operative assigned to San Francisco, arrives in 36 hours. The others are already in position at their target cities. Then we start in San Francisco. We take down Wraith, secure his mission package, and use it as leverage to stop the others. Wraith is Ghost 022. Orion warned. Former Delta Psych profile shows extreme compartmentalization and zero hesitation. He won't surrender and he won't talk. Then we don't give him a choice. I stood ignoring the wave of dizziness. Get me transport to the nearest coalition base. I need medical attention that won't kill me, and I need communications that won't get traced. Can you do that? He nodded slowly. There's a contract medical team 20 clicks west and they ask fewer questions. But Maya, understand this. Once you commit, you're all the way in. Command will classify you as rogue the moment they realize you're not dead. You'll be hunted by both sides. I was dead the moment I went over that cliff, I said. Now I'm a ghost with a mission. That's all that matters. Day 3, Aero 900 hours, San Francisco, 36 hours later. The flight from Afghanistan to California was a blur of pain medication and encrypted communications. Orion's network, other disillusioned operators who'd gone underground, provided safe houses, forged documents, and untraceable weapons. By the time I touched down at a private airstrip in Marin County, I'd reviewed every detail of Wraith's mission profile. He was staying at a hotel in Oakland, conducting surveillance on Powell Street Station, waiting for Wednesday afternoon. I had 18 hours to stop him. The bullet wound had been stabilized, but not healed. A contract surgeon in Kabul had removed the round and pumped me full of antibiotics. I could move, but every step was a reminder that I was operating on borrowed time. Orion met me at the Safe House, a nondescript apartment in the Tenderloin district. Wraith made contact with his handler 6 hours ago. Final mission brief is tonight at 2100 hours at the Oakland Hotel. That's our window. We take him before the meet, I said. Once he gets final authorization, he'll accelerate the timeline. Agreed. But there's a problem. Orion pulled up surveillance photos. The handler isn't just a logistics coordinator. It's Deputy Director Marcus Webb, one of the 3 officials running the whole operation. If we take down Wraith, Webb will know immediately and activate contingencies. Then we take them both. Webb has a security detail. 4 operators, all former Special Forces. This won't be quiet. Good. I checked my SIG, loaded a fresh magazine. Quiet is overrated. I want them to know we're coming. Orion smiled a real smile this time, full of predatory satisfaction. Now you're thinking like a ghost. Day 3, 20-45 hours. The Oakland Hotel was a mid-range business establishment, anonymous and forgettable. Perfect for clandestine meetings. Wraith had a room on the 6th floor. Webb's security detail had the entire 7th floor locked down. We went in separately. Orion through the service entrance, me through the front lobby in civilian clothes, jeans, leather jacket, backpack. Just another Bay Area resident. The knife strapped to my thigh and the SIG tucked into my waistband said otherwise. I took the stairs to 6, moving quietly. Room 612. The door had a privacy lock engaged, but locks are psychological barriers more than physical ones. I picked it in 40 seconds. Wraith was inside studying satellite imagery on his laptop. He sensed me the moment I entered, a shift in air pressure, a change in ambient sound. He moved fast hand, going for the weapon on the nightstand. I was faster. My knife pinned his hand to the table before he could grip the gun. He hissed in pain, but didn't scream, too well trained for that. Instead, he kicked backward chair, slamming into my injured side. White, hot agony. I stumbled, and he wrenched the knife free, coming at me with it in a reverse grip. We fought in the silence of professionals, no shouts, no wasted energy. Just brutal efficiency. He slashed, I blocked. I countered, he evaded. The hotel room became a cage match, and only one of us was walking out. He was good. Better than good. But I was fighting for Emma, for Rodriguez and Jackson, for every ghost who'd been used and discarded. I feinted left, drew his attack, and drove my elbow into his trachea. He staggered, choking. I followed with a knee to his solar plexus, then a wrist lock that disarmed him. The knife clattered to the floor. I put my SIG against his temple. "Mission package," I said quietly. "Where is it?" He smiled through bloody teeth. "You're Ghost 4-3, Maya Chen. You're supposed to be dead." "We're all supposed to be dead. That's the problem. Package, now." "In the laptop. Encrypted. You'll never break it." "I don't need to break it. I just need to deliver it to the right people." I zip-tied his hands behind his back. "You've got one chance, Wraith. Tell me who else is compromised in command, and maybe you walk away from this. Walk away to what, a prison cell, a black site interrogation? He laughed bitterly. I'm already dead, Chen, just like you. Ghosts don't get happy endings. The door exploded inward. Webb's security detail, 4 operators in tactical gear, weapons up. I dove behind the bed as bullets chewed through the mattress. Wraith, still zip-tied, rolled toward the doorway. She's here, Ghost 043, she's alive. Then his head snapped back, spraying blood. One of the security team had shot him. Cleanup protocol. A voice barked. No witnesses, no evidence. Burn it all. They were going to kill me and sanitize the scene, make it look like Wraith had been compromised by foreign agents, tie up all loose ends. I returned fire, dropping one operator with a headshot. The others scattered, using the doorway for cover. Then Orion appeared behind them like a nightmare made flesh. He moved through the security team like a scythe through wheat knife gun bare hands. Efficient, brutal, perfect. In 20 seconds, it was over. 4 bodies in the hallway, Wraith dead in the room. Webb, I asked. 7th floor, moving toward the emergency stairs. If he escapes, this all goes public in the worst possible way. He'll spin it as a terror cell, and we'll be the villains. We ran. Day 3, 21 12 hours. Webb was fast for a man in his 60s. We caught him on the 5th floor landing, trapping him between us. He looked at me with something like pity. Commander Chen, I'm sorry it came to this. You were one of our best. Sorry enough to stop the attacks, I demanded. The attacks are necessary. You don't understand the bigger picture. I understand you're murdering American citizens to cover up your crimes. I'm protecting national security. His voice rose, cracking. You think this is about power, about money. This is about maintaining the structures that keep our country safe. Senator Reeves wants to dismantle the intelligence apparatus, expose classified programs, undermine. So you're going to blow up a train station full of kids? My gun didn't waver. Tell me how that protects anyone. Acceptable losses in a larger war. You should understand that, Commander. You're a soldier. I was a soldier. Now I'm something else. I looked at Orion. You have a phone? He tossed me a sat phone. I dialed a number I'd memorized years ago, Admiral Keller's direct emergency line. It rang twice. Keller. Admiral, this is Lieutenant Commander Maya Chen. I need you to listen very carefully. Silence. Then, Commander Chen is KIA. Who is this? Sir, I'm alive, and I'm standing in front of Deputy Director Marcus Webb with evidence of a conspiracy to commit domestic terrorism under the guise of ghost operations. I need you to lock down 12 locations immediately. I rattled off the cities and targets. And I need you to trust me for the next 5 minutes. Can you do that, sir? Another pause. What's your authentication code, Commander? I recited the code, a string of numbers and letters I'd been assigned when I joined ghost operations. Codes that were supposed to die with me. Jesus Christ. Keller breathed. Maya, what the hell is going on? For the next 3 minutes, I briefed him concise, factual, no embellishment. Webb tried to interrupt to spin his own narrative, but I cut him off. Sir, I have Wraith's laptop with the full mission package. I have Webb in custody, and I have testimony from a Ghost 01 call sign Orion who can corroborate everything. But I need you to move fast. The other operatives will activate when they realize the San Francisco hit has been compromised. I'm scrambling FBI and Homeland Security to all locations now. Keller set his voice tight with controlled fury. Maya, can you hold Webb until federal marshals arrive? I looked at the deputy director, who'd gone pale and silent. Yes, sir. We can hold him. Do it. And Commander, welcome back from the dead. 72 hours later. The news broke like a tidal wave. Arrests of 3 high-ranking officials, exposure of illegal ghost operations protocols, federal investigations launched across the intelligence community. Senator Reeves held a press conference praising the courageous whistleblowers who'd prevented catastrophic attacks. She didn't name names. Ghosts stay ghosts. I watched the coverage from a safe house in Colorado, courtesy of Orion's network. My official status remained. KIA resurrecting me would raise too many questions Command wasn't ready to answer. Admiral Keller had offered me a choice: come back into the fold with a new identity, or stay dead and disappear. I chose the grave. Emma called our mother's phone that evening. I'd set up a secure relay so I could hear her voice without her knowing I was listening. Mama, do you think Maya is watching us from heaven? Her voice was small, sad. Every day, Bao Bao, my mother replied. Your sister is always watching over us. I closed my eyes against the tears. Emma would grow up believing I died a hero. She'd never know I was alive, that I was sitting in a cabin 2,000 miles away, listening to her mourn me. This was the price of being a ghost. Not death, but exile from everything that made you human. Orion found me on the porch that night, staring at the stars. Having regrets. Every second, I admitted. But I'd make the same choice again. That's what makes you dangerous. He sat beside me. Webb and the others will be prosecuted, but there are more like them. The program might be exposed, but the thinking behind it, the idea that some people are disposable tools, that's not going away. So what do? We stay ghosts. We hunt the monsters the system can't touch. We protect the people who can't protect themselves. He handed me a folder. Starting with this: human trafficking ring operating out of Eastern Europe. No official interest from any government because it's not strategic. 12 operators, all former military. They need someone to remind them what honor means. I opened the folder, scanning the intel. Locations, names, patterns, a mission. When do we leave? I asked. 72 hours. Enough time to heal, plan, and say your goodbyes. He paused. Maya, you understand what you're choosing. This isn't a deployment with an end date. This is forever. You'll never go home. I thought about Emma, about my mother, about the life I'd had before I became Ghost 043. Then I thought about the 300 kids who'd walked through Powell Street Station alive because I'd made a choice. Home is wherever the mission takes me, I said. Let's get to work. Epilogue 6 months later. I called Emma once more, using the secure relay, just to hear her voice. She was laughing with friends, talking about school, about a science project, about normal 13-year-old things. She sounded happy, whole. She didn't need me haunting her life anymore. She had her memories, her hero in a box flag, her belief that I'd died protecting others. In a way, I had. The girl who'd been Maya Chen Seal's sister-daughter, she'd died on that Afghan mountainside. What survived was something sharper, harder, more necessary. A ghost, in truth. Orion was right. Ghosts don't get happy endings. But we get something better. We get purpose. We get to be the shadows that protect the light, the phantoms that fight monsters, the dead who save the living. I am Lieutenant Commander Maya Chen, Ghost 043. I died so others could live. And I'll keep dying, keep disappearing, keep sacrificing for as long as there are people worth saving. That's not a happy ending. But it's enough.